Emotion yet peace, ignorance yet knowing, passion yet serenity, appearance of chaos yet harmony, birth and death, and some will say rebirth. All these play in the force. Harmony. This is the Paladin channel. In terms of looking at people who seek to lead, who seek to give advice, who seek to present themselves as learned, it pays to inspect the goods, as it were. I have touched on this subject in the past. I didn't seek any of that. I was simply wordy, opinionated, and put it out there. Some people liked what I had to say. But there are people who plainly want to be in these positions, who want to be of influence and things like that. And as I said in an earlier video, it only occurred to me fairly recently that I fell under the description of what they call influencers. I had actually influenced people, and I hope for the better. Some will say not. But in all that, when people come and deliver a message, is there, in fact, the harmony to the message? Does the person appear as if they live according to what they say? Is there respect between the giver and the audience, or the giver and the individuals particularly dealt with? It is well to inspect the goods and see if there's anything that's in accord here or in dissonance here. Red flags. We are intrinsically intuitive creatures, and that is something that I think needs proper attention and development. It could be exercised like limbs, like skills, and be brought out more and more. And in that regard, I believe that is what is really meant by search your feelings. I've lived by that as best I could. I'm not a pro, but it has worked time and again if I'm mindful and have actually used it. I've wound up in complicated matters, trouble, by not listening to it. And I'd review what had happened and what I did do and failed to do prior to my action, in terms of the activity. It's bringing what was learned to real life, and itself constitutes a meditation. In all of that, you can say that you're on the road to being passionate. You have a pursuit, and you wish to go from where you are to something that's lofty, noble, heroic. Be your own hero. But in that, it's well to remember the balance of serenity. When you're in the boat alone, you don't want to go too far to port or starboard in the boat. or it will list. Your travel through the water will be different. You want an even approach. This is called in some ways the middle path, the middle road. I'm an advocate of the middle road. Extremes have a way of tending to absolutes. And we have that caution about absolutes. And when regarding them, identify it as an absolute and say, let me step back from this. Just because so-and-so says this about that, need I accept that? Will it really benefit my path? Will it do these things? The path requires introspection. It's not something where you're down on yourself or self-depreciating, but you can be observant, you can be objective. You can say, I'm looking at myself as if there was a camera outside following me. Actually, in society, they're all over. But in your own mind, you can follow what you do, and you can be your own critic. But you can do that with an eye to improvement, without the spank. In terms of the path, it's something that it ought to be looked at as a matter of growth, as a matter of saying, if I was unhappy with myself before, what are those things that would make me happier were I to take them up? What things would bring me to a place where I want to be? What kind of activities, mindsets, areas were going to bring me on this path more properly? The objective is to like the person in the mirror and approve that person. And if you're unable to say, well done, at least strive for well attempted. If not that, well said. Failing that, well thought. Thought is the very fount of things. Thought precedes words, or at least ought to. And thought also precedes action. I have said for years, everything is mind. And that is our playground, that is our province, that is our exercise room, that is where we develop, that is our school, that is our learning, that is the place where we meditate. Mind is where we perceive everything. Mind contains the world and the universe, the cosmos itself. With this, we have a tremendous ability on this world. As a rational animal, or what ought to be a rational animal, we are capable of doing great things one way or another. To develop the mind, and especially with the Jedi way, to develop it toward good, toward the light. We call it Ashla, the light side. That's to promote what is best in us. That is to promote what is best for the world as we see it. We can understand with the limitations of a human, but we can understand with a wish to be expansive and to leave traces of good everywhere. We won't be perfect in the execution of this, but there's the attempt and the wish. All, as I've said, begin from the mind. Mind is chief, mind is supreme, mind contains everything. Work the mind, develop the mind, act with the mind, act mindfully. A lot is said about mindfulness, and mindfulness is of key importance. I think that's somebody. Mindfulness is of key importance. It provides us with an evenness of the road, with a smoothness of journey. And if things do get bumpy, may they not be things of our own invention. May we consider well what we do. And if we do blunder, there will be those times, then let that be a learning. Let that be something to chalk up and not to say, oh, I've had a failure. No, I've had a learning experience. Maybe I won't repeat this now. For the philosophy, for the faith, for the work to go into the mind and work these things. That's a discipline. But it's a discipline that can be taken up readily. That's a discipline. It can be taken up readily to whatever degree you wish. Nobody's going to say that you have to be a master. Your position, I would think, is to learn about yourself. We're all Padawans. The master should have the attitude of being a Padawan. If you say, I've paid my apprenticeship, so I'm above that, that's sheer nonsense. What should happen is that the master should feel like a fellow student. Might know more, might have experienced more, might have failed more. But again, I cite Master Kong, called Confucius in the West. He had a love of learning, and his ambition was to always learn until his last day. This is a remarkable attitude, and we should take it up too. In the light of that, may your path be more learned, may it be brighter. This was Paladin Carl.